I don't invest in rich kids, which isn't really true, but almost true. Because rich kids on Shark Tank come with a couple of attributes that disturb me. They've had the right jobs because they had the right contacts. So they had the right apprenticeships in different right companies in their summer months when they're teenagers. You know, they get the right introductions, okay? Poor kids are usually waiting tables and scrapping, dealing with customers, spilling coffee, and getting shouted at. A little different. Rich kids, the ones I see on Shark Tank, typically have gone to the finest schools. And what comes with going to the finest schools, especially business schools, what comes is a certain attitude that they know it. That's a dangerous attribute to have in anything when you're starting out in anything. Okay? But what they do know is they know all about business as an observer, but they don't know business as a player. Whereas poor kids tend to have had hardship. They've had to be a player earlier. They've had to contribute to the family. They've seen their parents struggle. They know the power of a buck. And then the last is an injured poor kid is, for me, a guarantee that I'm going to make money if he's got the ego to prove somebody else wrong. The love of money doesn't make him a good entrepreneur. Most great entrepreneurs really aren't focused on the money at all. It kind of just happens because they're focused on being phenomenally successful.
I'm your professor, I will test you in the worst way. Don't bring a scantron, it's pop quizzes all day. Cause of our chemistry, we do biology. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber died trying. You see the thumbnail and you saw the clip. Very important, right? What she said is just, to me, America. America is a rich kid. And what I mean by that is the country that we live in, the country that a lot of us, quote unquote, know and love, is a rich kid because you can go into pretty much every facet of life and understand it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not necessarily a meritocracy. You know, the last bastion of that is really sports, and they're really trying to cut that out. So if you've lived long enough, you've heard the stories over and over again about this rich kid mentality that she might not like. She might not like. She like, you know, I wouldn't want to invest in that. But unfortunately, the country does. The vast majority of America invests in the rich kid mindset. You know, if you was in the military, people used to say for years they get these kids from West Point, these young men, young women from West Point, and they teach them everything in the book, and they come to to the battlefield arrogant, and they tell people to do things that don't actually work, and they can get people killed because guess what? They don't have any battle experience. They just say, "Hey, man, I'm out here with the books, and they told me this works," and it's like, "Oh, okay, but why don't you go do it and see if it works?" No, and they had, and some of them had to learn by people losing their lives. You get what I'm saying? You've got it where nepotism is a thing. You know, of course, nepotism is a thing. Um, where you had a lot of these companies um, do the pass it down to this person and pass it down to that person, and you really pass down incompetence and ruin the quote unquote family business. That's what you did. Um, But hey, I would rather the family have it, you know, than have somebody who's not in the family who knows what they're doing have significant amount of power. So some of these businesses go under. I saw it recently. That was the difference between the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts, right? The Rockefellers used a lot of irrevocable trust and made sure that the next generations wouldn't just be able to blow it all by doing any type of incompetent thing because they were just used to wealth and not actually used to work. And when it went to the Vanderbilts, that's what ruined them. But getting back to America's a rich kid, the networking, quote unquote, the good old boy system, it's the same thing. These people haven't been through adversity like that. I know we like to go, oh, I came from this and I came from that and I worked hard and my family started from this and that. A lot of that's bullshit. A lot of people use, you know, you know, I would say predominantly in white America, but the good old boy system got people through. That's why you have a lot of mediocre, incompetent people in high places. Look at Washington D.C. Look at the politicians. You haven't really had a lot of smart politicians in years. Problem solvers, big thinkers. That's supposed to be our basically our brain trust, and the brain ain't working, and then we don't trust them. But that's why I said America's a rich kid. Then, you know, we got to take it a step further, and now we kind of shun people because of their adversity. You get what I'm saying? There was a time where, it's not just nowadays. People used to say a person came from the wrong side of the tracks. I don't need you around. You're not the type of person that should be here and there. You know what I mean? Or in this space. Or people chalk it up to quote unquote affirmative action. People, you need to be unqualified. You're unqualified to be here, because people like to be in their quote unquote class bubble or caste system bubble. And a lot of times, and I've said this numerous times, but when you look at America, you notice something, especially in the suburbs. There's not a lot of success in the suburbs. They've got all the amenities to be successful, but the success rate is not like it is in places with adverse conditions. I'm gonna just, they have a better chance to maintain what their parents created or their grandparents created, or to skate on on mediocrity via the connections that their families might have. But in general, their success rate is not that good. You're not going to get you're probably not going to get a middle class or upper class person saying I'm gonna get rich or die trying, because that's not that they don't have enough adversity to even have that mindset. So when I say America's a rich kid, it's unfortunate, but it is. And I will say part of the global influence of America is dying, because you realize a rich kid don't know what the fuck they doing. You get what I'm saying? So now we have to live in the reality of, the rich kid mindset is prevalent, but it's incompetent and it's not practical, and it actually isn't producing any wins. And when you get back to practical stuff and competent people, you might have to deal with people who are more competent and who have to make deals here and there, right? And had to deal with things here and there. And what you come to find out is, and I say this in a generational sense, that's why you see a lot of people, I could say 30s, 20s, teens, maybe even 40s. I would dare not to say that as much, but you see people not being able to handle society because they have a rich kid mindset, even if they weren't quote unquote raised rich. A lot of people, if your parents had you looking fly in high school, you got an entitled rich kid's mindset. Now you got to keep up the flyness, and you can't, but you don't have any skills but to look good, right? So that's why social media is prevalent like it is. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. You tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace. You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm gonna tell you that.